Hey guys, it's Nate from the Bike Company. I want to take a minute and explain the new metric that you're going to see on a lot of our contact products, such as shoes, grips, tires, things where we're looking to help define how hard or soft something is, how tacky something is, and how much damping something has. And we really feel like those three numbers are a little bit different factors, and by knowing all three of them, you can really compare and contrast pretty well across a variety of things. So the first number that you're going to see is going to be the durometer. It's pretty simple. Take a durometer scale and take several measurements, and then we average them. So, as an example for this stealth rubber shoe, it's a 65 durometer shoe on this scale. The next test, we want to test how much surface tack something has. And this took a bit to come up with this test. There's not a lot of ways to measure this, but what we came up with was applying a weight to this sled and then measuring the amount of newtons just before the weight moves. So then we go ahead and we take that number, that newton, and we're doing it under two different weights. So we average that to 1,000 grams. And then we take into consideration the surface area that it was pulling on. So this sled is 180 millimeters squared right here. The number that you're seeing on the site is based on 150 millimeters squared. So if we were dragging this sled on the side of the shoe where it had full contact, we're actually going to take that number and shade it down just a little bit. If we're dragging the sled, say on, the 510's 13 millimeter diameter lugs here or the hexagon lugs here, we're going to take into account how much contact patch we have and then factor that out. The average is going to be 150 millimeters squared, like we said. So that's the number there. That's going to give you the higher number has more surface tack. So the third thing we want to take into account is damping, how much energy these things are absorbing. To do that, we're dropping a 1-inch steel ball from a height, and then we're measuring the first rebound off of it, taking an average of them, throwing out any that are, way out of line. They actually come in really close. You'll see them really close, and then if something hits in between or whatever, one will be way out. We'll just toss that number. And that gives us a pretty good idea, we feel, as far as it being able to quantify the who's and what's and whys. And then because we want the damp number to be the higher number has more damping, since the higher slide number is stickier, we thought we would stay with that goal. So we're taking the drop, dividing it by the percentage of the rebound, and that gives us a bigger number for the smaller rebound, which is what we were looking for. So that's the math that backs this stuff up. As far as looking at what we tested it on, it all passes the hand test. We were really looking for something that made sense when you held two items and, yeah, okay, I get this, and this seems appropriate. We didn't want the numbers so big that you might be confused with, is this twice as tacky or is this 20 times as tacky? So we messed with them a little bit there. Don't necessarily do your kid's 6th grade science project off of this, but it is close enough that you're going to be able to tangibly understand much better the differences between these products. So those are the three tests. Some of the things that we've tested just as an idea of these numbers. My titanium wallet, it's off the durometer scale. This would be a Rockwell scale because it's titanium. The slide test, it came back at 2.8, so not a lot of surface grip on this. It's polished from being in my pocket all the time. The damp test came back at a 0.7, so a ton of rebound off that steel ball versus the original drop. The hard plastic Allen key holder came back at a 98 on the durometer scale, a 2.6 on the slide test, and a 2.3 on the rebound. So much less rebound on this than the titanium, actually. Taking a quick look at the shoes. This is the 510 gum sole. It's non-marking. I wear these around the house and whatever. It's a good casual shoe. I wouldn't ride in it. It's not as tacky as either of these, and it's a very soft shoe on this particular model. So not up here as a riding reference, but just as an idea. This gum sole came out to 72 on the Durometer, 10.8 on the slide test, and 3.2 on the damp. Of these two riding shoes, I've ridden in both of these, and I feel like these numbers do represent what I get on trail. The Stealth Rubber comes in at a 65 Durometer, 16.1 on the slide, and 5.8 on the damp. So this is actually the most damping product that I've tested so far out of all the tires and whatever I've done to this point. It really ate up a lot of the energy from that drop. Slightly softer on the Durometer and slightly tackier on the slide test. The Ride Concept shoe came in at 55, 22.4, and 4.8 on the rebound. So still pretty good at damping. Not quite the same as the Stealth, but this is a softer, stickier shoe. My experience with these two shoes would back that up based on, I ride in my riding shoes, but I also tend to do my house chores in my riding shoes, so I'm pretty hard on them. The 510 tend to last me a bit longer than the Ride Concepts, and that makes sense when I look at the harder Durometer. So that's our new system. So when you see those numbers, that's kind of where we've got them from, and we wanted to have a quick explanation so you guys didn't think we were just pulling them out of our hats. So take a look around. We invite you to shop the best in MTB here at BikeCo.com.